So I have started my part 1 day 20-hour print of the full-size Mjolnir Thor hammer print, and I'm printing in PLA. I'm trying to finish off my gray, and then I'm going to switch over and finish off the rest of that white there. Then probably move on to trying to finish off the blue. These ones that I'm a little bit low on, because this is an actual cosplay, so it's going to be painted how it's supposed to be painted in the movies and stuff, smoothed down and everything, so it doesn't really matter if I make it in multiple PLAs, multiple colors anyways. I was waiting on this for a while so I could do it in this big humongous roll of ABS. But as you guys can see in my last video, I still haven't figured out how to get 100% non-warpage with the ABS. Which I think with how when I did it with the adhesive wasn't all the way dried. I had just put it on, wiped it off, and then I had started making the print. But now that it's sit for a while, all the other prints that I've made after that, have really been stuck to the board. It's the first time that I've had to go and really start using my scraper. Not only do I have to use my scraper, but I have to get in there and I use the back of it and I get like a razor blade and shove it underneath, and I kind of hammer it in with the end of this and then stick this in underneath the razor blade and then start working this in. Like, it's really stuck down. So I'm actually pretty excited to start printing with the ABS. But I really need to get started on this, so I don't really have time to experiment right now with something this large with the ABS. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it in PLA and finish off my PLAs that I don't have very much PLA left on. Ooh, that didn't sound very good. I think that might need to be oiled. Anyways, this new video is kind of just to show you the differences in my budget PLAs and ABSs that I got. None of my rolls of filament, none of my spools of filament have been more than $25. So I've got my trusty aliens here from Pizza Planet to help me out in this video. I printed each one of these on the different filaments that I have, and right off the bat I'm going to let you guys know that 3 of these aliens are on one type of filament, just different colors, and I do have a black in the same filament. But it's going to print exactly the same. I was going to print all 3 of them, all 3 different colors, or 4 different colors. I think it's 4, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. I was going to print the 3 ones that I have, and then the 4th black one, but all 3 printed exactly the same. So the filament, no matter the color, prints exactly the same. So I wasn't worried about printing the black one. I'll kind of just show you the spools and stuff of it, and which ones they are. And we're actually going to start out with them first because they're the more expensive ones. So I said at the beginning that none of these were over $25. Actually, none of these were over $20.50. So they're all very budget filaments. Very, very budget filaments. And like I said, I'll leave the links in the description if you guys are interested in these. My favorite filament so far that I've used is the Color 3 PLA filament. It's my favorite one. It's the first one that I bought, the first filament that I used, and it just so happens to be my favorite filament that I have. That being said, there's one more filament that I didn't make an alien into because I don't know the price of it. I don't know where to find it, and I don't know the name of it. I got a black spool of filament with my Anycubic i3 Mega, and that comes with the printing machine. Most printing machines come with a spool of filament. I've used it. It's exactly like the black filament, the Color 3 black filament. They print exactly the same. So there's really no point in me making a thing on it because I don't know the price of it, and I don't know where you can pick it up. You might be able to go to Anycubic and pick it up, but this is all about budget. I don't know if that spool may be a more expensive one. I don't know, but it performs exactly like the $20 PLA filament. So we'll start out with kind of looking at all of these, and you guys can kind of see the difference in them. The one major flaw that every one of these has had was the little thing on top of his head. None of them could really make it right. It's in the print, it's real smooth. It's just a real smooth up. And so I made it bigger with the orange one just to see if it would perform any different. And it did up to a point. It kind of right here in this little section, it kind of messed up a little bit. But I think a little bit bigger than this. I think this one is at 120. And I'll leave this link in the description from Thingiverse where I got this alien from. You can check this print out. The print itself shows that really smooth, and this one at 100%, these ones are 100%, this one is at 120% on the scale, and you can see that that's when it started actually doing that a little better. So I think at like 150, even 200, it still fits on a basic small build plate. 200 fit on my build plate, and the Anycubic isn't very big, so I think that would make it perfect. Everything else is perfect, and everything else on all of these is perfect except for that little spot there. So if you're not worried about that, then, you know, print it at 100% if you want to print this model. But you can see some of the differences, subtle differences in these. The black one here is the TPU. These three here are the PLA, and these two right here are ABS. And this one's PLA as well. So you can kind of see the difference right off the bat in all of them. The TPU is very shiny, but the main thing is you can bend him. Bend his ears. You can even squeeze him because he's rubbery. The rest of them are hard as rock. Big thing on the ABS is I'm still trying to figure out how to keep it flat. And so the feet have kind of a rounded edge, and they're not flat on the ground. Neither of them. The green one is a lot better. It's more flat. Only the very tips of his feet are off the ground. Aren't absolutely flat. But the PLA, the feet are, they didn't round at all. And I mean, this is the same exact thing. The temperature is the only thing that I changed, and having the fan on are the only two things that I changed. And these things are so much better. You know, they're perfectly flat. And the PLA seems to be a lot shinier. All of the PLA, I don't know if you'll see the shiny in the white. I can see it with my eye, but there we go. You can see the shine there. And that one, the gray's really shiny. The black is super shiny. That's half the reason why I didn't want to do the black, because the black is going to be just like the TPU, super shiny, and you're not going to be able to really see it. I mean, it'll look just like this, just with the quality of the PLA. So, then the ABS, there's not very much of a shine. It's more of a dull color, but at the same time, it's more of an exact color. So, an exact red, because this one is actually like a really bright green on the spool, and I'll show you that here in a second. Just like this is a really bright orange, and you can tell that this is a really bright orange looking at it. But this kind of, to me, just looks like a regular green. You know, a more bright green, but not as bright as it really looks on the spool. So, that's kind of all of them compared together. You can kind of look at all of them there and kind of see what all of them look like. We'll go ahead now and break them all down one by one. I'll do the most expensive. Well, we're going to start with the most expensive one here, and that would be the TPU alien. He's the squishy guy, and this is the roll of filament here. It's hard to see because it's all black, but this is the roll of filament here. That's how much you get, and you'll see a comparison with the other rolls. It's just a real pliable, here's the end of it, real pliable TPU. This costs $22.99 on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. It's Yoyi. I live in Kansas, and I ordered it Friday and I got it on Monday. So it came in very quick. Everything from Amazon comes in very quick. So, pretty good TPU. Only TPU that I've used so far, so I can't really compare it to anything. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I haven't used any other TPU. I had a friend that wanted something made in TPU for his drone, so I ordered some. I want to order some more TPU as well. The only thing is, a lot of the good Ninja Flex and really good TPUs that I've seen online are a little bit more pricey than the PLAs and ABS and stuff. And there's also a lot of other types of filament, like there's HIPS, PETG, wood, PVA, PA, PC, PCL. You know, there's all sorts of different types of filament. These are the basic ones that everybody uses: ABS, PLA, and TPU. You know, flexible, temperature sensitive PLA, or, you know, weaker but higher temperature ABS. It's the basic ones that everybody uses. So now these three here are the color 3 PLA. I love this PLA, and I don't have the gray one on hand because it's making my Thor hammer right now that you've seen at the very beginning of this video. So here's the spool. You can kind of see the spool size without the filament. Whoa! And then that, and then I have a gray. So we didn't make the black alien. I don't have the gray spool. But the spool is just an average spool, 1.75. The cool thing about this filament is it has a chart on the side here. It says all the temperatures of it on the side there, so you don't forget. And see, the Anycubic i3 Mega that I have has a presetting for PLA, ABS, and TPU. Well, just PLA and ABS, because TPU basically is the same temperatures as PLA. But this one has the ABS, their ABS temperatures 230, 270. And you'll see later there's another ABS that I have that has the temperatures provided, and it only goes to 250. And so some of these go higher and some of these don't. So having the number listed here on the side is awesome. That way you can kind of just look at the spool and know where you're at. The PLAs is 200 to 250. Most PLAs only go from like 200 to 240, 220, 240. This one goes to 250. PETG. The TPU goes 200 to 220. Most TPUs go, I think, to 215 or something like that. So it's really nice when they provide that. These have been my favorite to print with. Just been amazing prints. Everything that I've done has just been solid. An amazing print, stuck to the bed. Hardly had any trouble with it. There was one time I had trouble, but it was my fault, not the filament itself. So the filament has just been perfect. And for 20 bucks, that's an amazing filament. It's super cheap. I can buy a couple spools of these every couple weeks, you know, and I've had these since I've gotten it. I've made a ton of stuff, and you can see how low the white is. I've made a ton of stuff, especially in white. I made the entire Darth Vader helmet out of white, you know, and a whole bunch of other things, and it's just lasted forever. I've had these since I bought these. They came in before my printer came in, and this is all I've been using, or all I used until a couple weeks ago. So it's pretty cool. So those are those. Let's move on to the other PLA while we've got it before we go to the ABS. This is Bright Orange Sunlu filament. This was only $15.99, and for $15.99 I actually half expected it to be a terrible filament. The one thing about this is, in something like this where it's real thick, you can really see the color and stuff. But if you were to take a closer look, the weird thing about this filament is the outer layer, like one layer is see-through. Multiple layers is bright orange. It's bright orange in the filament. In fact, it's a brighter orange than what it prints on. And when it prints, one layer is see-through. Once the heat hits it, one layer is see-through. About 3 layers in, and you start seeing really the orange of it all. And so when you actually take a real close look at this, you see the orange in it, not on the outside of it. So the outside color is an orange. the outside color is actually like this yellowish, clearish. It's got this real shiny streak in it. I don't know if I can capture that. You can kind of see it there. It's like a yellowish, shiny streak, outside clear color. And then the orange is kind of deep in there. If you just kind of take a glance at it and take a look at this, it looks orange. But it's not. Like the inside is orange, the outside isn't. So it's wild. It's crazy. It's kind of cool looking, to be honest with you. This, if you're looking to print that bright orange and stuff, where it's, you know, you get a real solid, consistent color, this probably isn't the right one for you. But I mean, what do you really need that's bright orange, to be honest with you? I mean, it's just a really cool kind of filament, and it did really good. Which, this is the bigger of the aliens, and like I showed you earlier, it's the one that actually didn't mess up until towards the top. So I mean, it performed really good. I had a lot of trouble with it at first because it comes with a booklet right here that tells you all of their temperatures and stuff for all of their different things, and it goes 190, 220, and then it says the plate temp not needed. So I mean, finding that build plate temp to get it to, because when I turned the build plate temp off, it really didn't stick to it. And it might just be my printer bed temp, or it might be my printer bed, or my printer build plate. It might just have something to do with the way that it is. It's specifically made for heated beds. So it took me a while to really find that temperature that got it to stick. I mean, this thing would do the first couple layers and then come off. First couple layers and come off. And finally I got it about 55 degrees. You know, I was trying 60 degrees, I tried 50 degrees, I tried 65 degrees, and then finally I tried 55 degrees. And 55 degrees seemed to work just fine, and it stuck to the build plate and did a pretty good job. The next one is the same brand, but ABS. This is the Sunlu ABS Bright Green. Also $15.99, same price as the PLA. And like I've told you guys on this one in a previous video, and now the only thing is I haven't figured out how to keep it flat on the build plate, but using fabric glue spray, I've got it to do pretty good. And this one's really a lot flatter than the previous PLA that I did. That's frankly a cheaper ABS. So it's really good, I think. I think it did a fantastic job. I did a Yoda as well that was just full detailed and everything. I haven't used this that much. You can see that there's a ton of ABS left. You can see a lot of color lines in the top of his head. If I can get the light to hit it just right. Same thing happened in any of these bigger rounded areas. Same thing happened with the Yoda. There's like lighter green. It's not the layer. It's not a problem with the 3D layers. It's a problem with the color itself. So at some point there must have been a temp problem or something where, you know, it's darker right up here before it starts this top part of his head, but there's little lines of lighter green going around. So again, like its predecessor in the PLA, it doesn't have a consistent color. Not 100% consistent color. And none of my prints that I've done with it have a consistent color. But if you want to make something and paint it, this is pretty good stuff right here. And it's not super shiny. It's not super slick. So I'm pretty sure that's plastic bonding spray paint would stick to this very easily. And plus, the cool thing about this and my other ABS is you can really mold this stuff with a razor blade. Like any little imperfections and stuff, take a razor blade to it. It's very, very, very easy to sculpt it with a razor blade. So that's really cool. And the very last one is this gigantic roll of, and if I put him on top, that's way up there. This gigantic roll of Repco 3D ABS. And see, the Sunlu came with a temperature booklet. I showed you the Yoyi TPU. The TPU didn't come with a booklet. I forgot to mention that. Didn't come with any temperature settings or anything. Didn't tell you what temperature it needed to be on. But the Repco on the box, it actually has the temperatures on the box, and this one goes 220 to 250. Most ABSs just go to 240. 220 to 240 for the extruder. It doesn't tell you the temperature for the bed, for the build plate, but that's fine. I played around with it and I figured it out. You have to have the fan off. Both of these ABSs that I've showed you, you have to have the fan off, and you have to have some sort of adhesive on your build plate, and you have to try to trap in as much heat as possible. And I had to have the extruder as hot as it could go. The other ABS that I just showed you, by the way, I think it says it only goes to 240 in the booklet. The extruder is 240. Yeah, 240, but I did do it on 250 and it worked fine. So as hot as you can get it, you're gonna have the best stuff, because these things, ABS warps like crazy. And I think this cheap stuff, I've seen people do ABS, do expensive ABS, and they didn't really, it showed their build plate, they didn't have that much glue on it. I think it was just glue sticks, it was open, fan was off and stuff, and they didn't have that much trouble. So the expensive ABSs might just be better, way better when it comes to warping than the cheaper ABS, but the cheaper ABS you can still get a decent print from, I think, as long as you're not making something that's geometrically flat on one side, you know, or has to have, you know, set flat to something else. As long as you can deal with a little bit of a bend, like his feet it doesn't mind, because the back of it's flat enough. It's got a flat enough surface on one area. You can kind of see the bend right there in his toe. But there's a flat enough area that he stands flat. And his toes just come up a little bit. Just a tiny little bit. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, just a little bit of a shadow underneath his foot. So if you're just making things like this ABS will work all day long. And that's the thing, is sometimes you don't want to get a really expensive ABS to make some little thing like this for your kid, or make some little thing like that for an example video like this. You don't want to waste that $30–40 filament on little tiny knick-knack things, but this stuff is perfect for it. Here's my thing, and this has been a long video, but I'm trying to give you guys major options. Multiple, not just 2 or 3 different types of cheap budget filaments, but multiple types of cheap budget filaments that you can go on Amazon or eBay or something and get, because there's a lot of really good filament, and everybody should have a good filament, a really decent filament to make really good things with. But you should also have in your repertoire some really cheap filament that you can do some testing and stuff with. Like I had to use a lot of this to begin with, just testing, trying to get this thing to work right, just so I knew how to get a good print. With the green, I had to do the exact same thing, testing, just to know that I would get a good print. Sometimes I forget on the temperatures and stuff on the PLA. I like to start out, if it's a small enough print, I like to start out with a really cheap filament, and then if it turns out really good and everything worked fine, then I can use a more expensive filament, or just let it. I have done, you know, where I'll use this as an example, where I'll put it on, I'll start it going and let it go up just a little bit, just to make sure everything's right and everything's good, if they have kind of the same settings. And then I'll take it off, I'll turn it off, you know, stop the print, and then I'll put the more expensive, better filament on it if it's more of an expensive piece. You know, so everybody should have in their repertoire some cheap filament. And if you can't afford the bigger the more expensive filament, a lot of the more expensive filament is way more expensive, and it's a lot less. This is a gigantic roll, and there are gigantic rolls out there of PLA. So anyways, that's it. You guys have seen some other prints of mine, if you guys have watched my print videos of this filament here. But like I said, this filament came with the Anycubic i3 Mega. Let's see, it has, all it says is PLA filament. Doesn't tell you what type of filament it is or anything. It just tells you your temperature is 190 to 230. So instead of 220, it goes to 230. Really good filament, prints exactly like the color 3 filament that I have. So if you want a black filament that's exactly like the filament that came with the Anycubic i3 Mega, get the color 3 filament. It's $20 a roll, and it's actually more than what's on here. Anyways, I'm Bryson Michael RC. This has been Budget Filament. See you guys later. Have a good one.